Dr. Zara Voss pressed her eye to the maintenance panel's viewing port, watching the impossible sight before her. 7 small figures, no taller than human toddlers, moved through the research station's ventilation system with fluid grace. Their bodies appeared to be made of living crystal, refracting the dim emergency lighting into prismatic patterns that danced across the metal walls. "Impossible," she whispered, checking her scanner readings again. Yes, the xenobiology lab's sensors had detected anomalous life signs for 3 weeks, but Protocol 7 strictly prohibited investigation without proper authorization. As the junior researcher on Omega-7, Zara's requests for expanded scanning permissions had been repeatedly denied. The smallest crystalline being stumbled, its translucent form flickering with what looked like exhaustion. The others immediately surrounded it, their bodies resonating with harmonious tones that seemed to provide comfort. Zara's heart clenched as she recognized the universal language of hunger and fear. Through her specialized training, she understood these weren't just alien visitors. They were children, abandoned in the bowels of a human research facility with no obvious means of survival. The station's waste recycling systems provided water, but there was nothing in the ventilation shafts that could sustain complex life. Forms. Dr. Voss, report to Lab 7 for specimen cataloging, crackled through her cum unit. "On my way," she replied, but her gaze remained fixed on the crystalline younglings. The largest one, barely reaching her knee height, had positioned itself protectively in front of the group. Its surface patterns shifted through colors that seemed to indicate alertness and caution. That night, after completing her assigned duties, Zara returned to the maintenance section with a pack of emergency rations and a portable water purifier. Her hands trembled as she violated direct orders by opening the access panel. The consequences of unauthorized alien contact could end her career. But watching children starve wasn't something she could rationalize away. The crystalline beings emerged cautiously, their bodies chiming softly as they approached the offered food. The largest one extended what appeared to be a sensory appendage, touching the nutrition bars with delicate precision. Its surface immediately brightened, colors swirling in patterns that suggested surprise and gratitude. "It's okay, Zara," whispered, though she had no idea if they understood human speech. "You don't have to be afraid." The younglings consumed the rations with remarkable efficiency, their crystalline forms seeming to absorb nutrients directly through their surfaces. Within minutes, their previously dim coloration became vibrant, and their movements gained strength. The smallest one, who had been barely flickering before, now glowed with steady inner light as she prepared to leave, the largest being approached and gently touched her hand. The contact sent a warm vibration through her nervous system, accompanied by what felt like a wordless expression of profound thanks. For just a moment, Zara experienced an overwhelming sense of connection, as if the creature had somehow shared a fragment of its emotional state with her. Over the following weeks, Zara established a routine of secret visits, bringing food and water while carefully documenting the being's behavior. They were clearly intelligent, possibly more so than humans, but their communication methods remained mysterious. They created intricate patterns with their bodies, harmonized in complex musical arrangements, and seemed to share information through direct physical contact. More concerning was their obvious decline despite her efforts. Whatever they truly needed for survival, standard human rations weren't sufficient. Their colors were growing dimmer, their movements slower, and their musical communications increasingly desperate. Zara realized with growing horror that she was watching 7 alien children slowly dying, and her unauthorized assistance wasn't enough to save them. The night she discovered the smallest one had stopped glowing entirely, Zara made a decision that would change everything. She activated her personal emergency beacon and sent an encrypted message to the xenobiology department. Found dying alien children in ventilation system. Require immediate assistance. Will accept full disciplinary action. As she held the failing youngling in her arms, feeling its crystalline form growing cold and brittle, Zara whispered promises she had no authority to make. "Help is coming. I won't let you face this alone." She had no way of knowing that her simple act of compassion had just set in motion events that would reshape interstellar relations, or that 7 dying children would soon reveal themselves to be the key to humanity's place in a larger galactic community. Captain Marcus Reed had commanded Omega-7 for 8 years, but he'd never faced a crisis quite like this. The medical bay buzzed with activity as Dr. Kellum worked frantically to stabilize the 7 crystalline beings that Dr. Voss had discovered. 3 were in critical condition, their translucent forms barely maintaining cohesion. Status report, Marcus demanded, watching the alien younglings through the observation window. They're dying, Dr. Kellum said bluntly. Their physiology is unlike anything in our databases. They seem to metabolize energy directly, but whatever they need, we can't provide it. Marcus studied Zara, who sat beside the smallest being, her hand resting gently on its dimming surface. Despite facing potential court-martial for her unauthorized actions, she showed no regret. Dr. Voss, explain how you made contact. We're starving, sir. I couldn't just watch children die. Before Marcus could respond, the station's external sensors erupted in alarm. Captain, called Lieutenant Torres from the bridge, we have incoming vessels. Configuration unknown, but they beautiful. Marcus rushed to the observation deck and felt his breath catch. 3 ships approached Omega-7, their hulls appearing to be crafted from the same living crystal as the children. They moved with impossible elegance, leaving trails of refracted starlight in their wake. Open communications, Marcus ordered. A voice like resonating wind chimes filled the bridge. Greetings, protectors of our young. I am Nexari Veln, speaker for the Tesseract Collective. We come to witness the one who has revealed herself through sacred compassion. Marcus exchanged glances with his bridge crew. Speaker Nexari, this is Captain Marcus Reed. We're providing medical assistance to what we believe are your children. They are our most precious gift, Nexari replied. They have found the gentle hand we have sought for 3 centuries. The what now? Permission to board, Captain Reed. The revelation must be witnessed, and our young require immediate care that only we can provide. Against his better judgment, Marcus granted permission. Within an hour, 3 adult Tesseract beings materialized. In the medical bale literally materialized, as their advanced technology allowed molecular transportation. They stood nearly 7 feet tall, their crystalline forms pulsing with internal galaxies of light. Nexari approached the dying younglings, began emanating a harmonic frequency that immediately strengthened their fading forms. The smallest, one who had been barely alive, suddenly blazed with renewed vitality. You saved them through provision of sustenance, when they could not reveal their nature, Nexari said to Zara. But more importantly, you offered care without seeking advantage. I don't understand, Zara replied, overwhelmed by the being's imposing presence. For 300 years, we have placed our young in situations of need throughout this galaxy. Observing how different species respond, most ignore them. Others attempt to exploit or study them. You are the first to offer pure compassion. Marcus felt a chill of realization. This was a test, a sacred trial, another Tesseract being confirmed. The gentle hand was prophesied, to emerge not through wisdom or strength, but through instinctive protection of our vulnerable ones. Dr. Voss has fulfilled ancient requirements we believed might never be met. The implications hit Marcus like a meteor. You're saying she's some kind of chosen one? She is the bridge between our peoples, Nexari explained. The Tesseract Collective has remained hidden for millennia because we believed other species, incapable of understanding our values. But the gentle hand's emergence suggests that cooperation may be possible. Zara looked terrified. I just fed some hungry children. I'm not anyone's prophetic figure. The prophecy specified that the gentle hand would not recognize her own significance, Nexari said with obvious satisfaction. Your humility confirms rather than contradicts your designation. As the adult Tesseract beings continued healing their young, Marcus grappled with the diplomatic complexity. First contact with a previously unknown alien civilization was supposed to involve months of careful protocol, not accidental revelation through unauthorized acts of kindness. Speaker Nexari, he said carefully, What exactly does this mean for our two species? That depends, Nexari replied, on whether humanity can accept the responsibilities that come with harboring the gentle hand. Our collective commands, resources, and knowledge that could benefit your civilization greatly. But such gifts require trust that has been earned, not negotiated. The smallest Tesseract youngling, now fully recovered, approached Zara and placed a tiny crystalline appendage in her palm. The contact sent visible waves of light through both their forms, and Zara gasped as information flooded her consciousness, glimpses of vast crystal cities, technologies beyond human comprehension, and a civilization based entirely on principles of mutual care and protection. She can see our true nature now, Nexari observed.
Ow.
The bond is forming. Marcus watched his junior xenobiologist transform before his eyes as she processed contact with an alien hive mind built around compassion rather than conquest. Whatever was happening to Zara Voss would reshape humanity's place in the galaxy. He just hoped they were ready for the consequences. Ambassador Alina Vox materialized on Omega-7's transport pad exactly 72 hours after the Tesseract first contact, her diplomatic entourage trailing behind like a comet's tail. At 53, she had negotiated 17 interspecies treaties, but nothing had prepared her for managing humanity's first prophetic figure. Captain Reed, she said, her voice carrying the authority of someone who'd spent decades preventing galactic incidents. Status report on the Voss situation. Marcus led her through corridors buzzing with unprecedented activity. Dr. Voss remains in contact with the Tesseract Young. According to Speaker Nexari, she's undergoing something called consciousness bridging, apparently, learning to communicate through their harmonic resonance methods and the diplomatic implications. 17 different alien civilizations have requested audience with our gentle hand. The Tesseract Collective wants to establish their first embassy in 3 centuries. 3 separate factions are claiming the discovery proves their own prophetic traditions, and the Hegemony Council is demanding Dr. Voss be transferred to their jurisdiction for proper evaluation. Alina paused at the medical bay's observation window. Inside, Zara sat, surrounded by the 7 Tesseract younglings, her human form somehow harmonizing with their crystalline resonance. Waves of light passed between them, creating patterns of communication that transcended spoken language. She's terrified, Marcus admitted. Keeps insisting she's not qualified to be anyone's chosen one. But the bond is strengthening daily. Yesterday, she prevented a panic attack in one of the younglings just by placing her hand on its surface. Alina studied the young xenobiologist, who had accidentally become the most important human in the galaxy. I need to speak with her. When Alina entered the medical bay, the Tesseract younglings immediately shifted their harmonic frequency, creating what sounded like a greeting song. Zara looked up with eyes that seemed to hold depths they hadn't possessed a week ago. Ambassador Vox? Zara's voice carried new undertones, as if her exposure to Tesseract communication was affecting her human speech patterns. I know why you're here. Do you? The collective shares knowledge freely among bonded individuals. I can sense their excitement about establishing formal relations with humanity, their concerns about species who might try to exploit this connection. Zara's expression grew troubled. I never wanted to be responsible for interstellar politics. Lena sat across from her, careful not to disturb the crystalline beings who had arranged themselves protectively around their chosen guardian. Dr. Voss, can you understand what the Tesseract want from humanity? They want proof that our species is capable of growth, Zara replied. For 3 centuries, they've watched us expand through the galaxy, taking resources, establishing dominance over weaker civilizations, treating first contact as an opportunity for advantage rather than understanding. She paused as one of the younglings touched her arm, sharing some wordless communication. They believe I represent evidence that humans can evolve beyond those patterns. And what do you believe? I believe I was in the right place, at the right time to help some hungry children. Everything else feels like a burden I never asked for. Their conversation was interrupted by Lieutenant Torres's voice over the CUM system, Ambassador Vox. We have urgent communications from the Hegemony Council, the Altarian Trade Federation, and something calling itself the Coalition of First Prophecies. They're all demanding immediate access to Dr. Voss. Alina felt the familiar weight of diplomatic crisis settling on her shoulders. Dr. Voss, I need you to understand something. Your connection to the Tesseract represents a shift in galactic power dynamics that some civilizations will view as opportunity, others as threat. There are species who would eliminate you to prevent humanity from gaining Tesseract alliance, and others who would capture you to control that alliance themselves. Zara's face paled, but the Tesseract younglings immediately intensified their protective formation around her. Their harmonics shifted to frequencies that Elena's translator interpreted as determination mixed with fierce loyalty. The young ones say they won't let anyone harm their gentle hand, Zara whispered. But Ambassador, I can feel what they're feeling now. Their connection to their collective, their absolute certainty that protecting others is more important than protecting themselves. It's changing how I think, how I see everything. Alina recognized the signs of someone being transformed by alien contact beyond their control. Are you still you, Dr. Voss? I think I'm becoming more me than I've ever been, Zara replied with startling honesty. The Tesseract don't change people. They reveal what was already there. The capacity for genuine care, for putting others' welfare above personal comfort. She looked at the younglings with obvious affection. You're teaching me that strength comes from service, not dominance. Speaker Nexari materialized in the medical bay with the fluid grace that characterized Tesseract movement. Ambassador Vox, the collective, has monitored communications directed toward this station. We are prepared to defend our gentle hand against any who would exploit or harm her. That's exactly what I'm trying to prevent, Alina said carefully. Speaker Nexari, if the Tesseract collective enters into open conflict to protect Dr. Voss, could destabilize the entire galactic community. Then the galactic community must learn to value compassion over conquest, Nexari replied with implacable certainty. The gentle hand represents hope that such evolution is possible. We will not allow that hope to be extinguished by those who profit from conflict. Lena realized she was facing the potential for the first interstellar war fought over protecting rather than conquering someone. Her next decisions would determine whether Zara Voss became a bridge between civilizations, or the catalyst for galactic chaos. General Knox Hendricks had built his career on preparing for the unthinkable, but even his strategic mind struggled to process the intelligence reports flooding his command center. 3 separate alien fleets were converging on Omega 7, each claiming different intentions regarding humanity's accidental profit. Sir, reported Colonel Vega, his chief intelligence officer, the Dominion Syndicate has dispatched what appears to be a capture operation. They believe controlling Dr. Voss means controlling Tesseract Alliance. The Void Seekers are sending elimination forces. They view her as an existential threat to their expansion plans. The Harmonic Circle claims she's fulfilling their own ancient prophecies and are demanding custody. Knox studied the tactical displays showing 27 ships of various alien configurations approaching human space. Time to intercept, 18 hours for the fastest vessels. The Tesseract have positioned their own fleet defensively around Omega 7, but they're outnumbered 4-1. On the main screen, Knox could see the impossible beauty of Tesseract warships. They resembled floating crystal cathedrals, their weaponry integrated so seamlessly into their artistic design that they appeared more like sculptures than instruments of war. General came Speaker Nexori's harmonic voice through the communication. Array, we must discuss protection protocols for the gentle hand. Knox had dealt with dozens of alien species, but the Tesseract unsettled him with their absolute moral certainty. Speaker Nexari, we appreciate your defensive support, but engaging multiple fleets will escalate this beyond diplomatic resolution. Some circumstances transcend diplomacy, Nexari replied. The gentle hand represents hope for galactic evolution, toward cooperation rather than conquest. Those who would destroy such hope reveal their unworthiness to participate in civilized discourse. In the medical bay, Zara struggled with the crushing weight of expectations she'd never asked for. The 7 Tesseract younglings remained constantly by her side, their crystalline forms pulsing with protective energy whenever her stress levels rose. Through her growing bond with them, she could sense the approaching danger, feel the determination of beings willing to die to protect her. Dr. Kellum, she said to the station's medical officer. "Is there any way to break the bond between me and the Tesseract? Maybe if I wasn't their chosen one anymore, this would all just stop. Even if that were medically possible," Dr. Kellum replied carefully. "Would you really abandon these children after everything you've shared?" Zara looked at the smallest youngling, whose dim coloration indicated distress at her suggestion. Through their connection, she felt its fear not of danger, but of losing the first being who had ever offered unconditional care. "No," she whispered. "I couldn't do that to them." Knox appeared in the medical bay, his military bearing somehow softened by the presence of the crystalline beings. "Dr. Voss, I need to understand your capabilities. The Tesseract claim you can communicate directly with their collective consciousness. Is that accurate?" "It's complicated," Zara replied. "Through the younglings I can access some of their shared knowledge, feel what they're feeling, but it's overwhelming. In general, they experience reality as completely interconnected. Every action affects everyone else. Every decision is made considering its impact on the whole community. And that's changing how you think. It's changing how I see everything. Human civilization, our expansion through the galaxy, our relationships. With other species, we've been thinking like individuals competing for resources instead of components of a larger system that could thrive through cooperation." Knox recognized the signs of someone whose worldview had been fundamentally altered. "Dr. Voss, 3 different alien civilizations are willing to go to war over you. That's not a burden anyone should have to carry. But maybe it's a burden someone needs to carry," Zara replied, surprising herself with the words. "General, what if this isn't about me at all? What if it's about proving that humans can evolve beyond what we've always been?" Before Knox could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the station. General Hendricks to the bridge came Torres's urgent voice. "The Dominion Syndicate fleet has begun attack formations." Knox rushed to the command center to find chaos. Dominion vessels, massive and brutal in their industrial design, had emerged from hyperspace in attack formation. Their communications carried a simple ultimatum: surrender the human prophet or face annihilation. "Tesseract fleet response?" Knox demanded. "They're moving to intercept," reported Colonel Vega. "Ret General, their ships are primarily designed for defense and support against Dominion heavy cruisers." Knox watched as the crystal ships arranged themselves between the station and the approaching threat. Even outnumbered, they moved with perfect coordination, their formations creating geometric patterns that seemed to serve both tactical and artistic purposes. In the medical bay, Zara gasped as the Tesseract younglings suddenly blazed with intense light. Through their connection, she experienced the collective's unanimous decision to protect their gentle hand regardless of cost. Thousands of crystalline beings across space shared absolute commitment to her safety. "They're going to die. For me?" she whispered in horror. Speaker Nexari appeared beside her. "The collective has faced this choice before, Dr. Voss. We have learned that some principles are worth defending, even at the cost of individual survival. Hope for a better galaxy is one of those principles." Zara felt the weight of civilizations pressing down on her shoulders as she realized that her simple act of feeding hungry children had grown into something that could reshape galactic civilization or destroy it entirely. The next few hours would determine whether her compassion had been humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy or its most catastrophic mistake. Through the station's viewports, she could see the first exchange of fire between the crystalline defenders and the advancing Dominion fleet, each flash of light representing lives lost in her name. As weapons fire illuminated space around Omega-7, Zara Voss faced the impossible decision that would define the future of galactic civilization. The Tesseract defense fleet was taking heavy damage against the Dominion assault, their beautiful crystal ships fracturing under the brutal efficiency of industrial warfare. In the medical bay, the 7 younglings had formed a protective circle around Zara, their harmonics creating frequencies that somehow shielded the station from the worst of the battle's effects. Through their connection, she felt every Tesseract, death as a personal loss, experienced their unwavering commitment to protecting her, even as their numbers dwindled. "General Hendricks," she said into her communicator, her voice carrying new authority that surprised everyone who heard it. "I need to speak to all fleet commanders immediately," Knox's voice crackled back through interference from the battle. "Dr. Voss, this isn't the time. This is exactly the time," she interrupted. "Patch me through to every ship in the engagement zone." Within minutes, her transmission was reaching vessels across multiple fleets: the battered Tesseract defenders, the aggressive Dominion cruisers, the newly arrived Void Seeker destroyers, and the elegant Harmonic Circle diplomatic ships that had somehow appeared during the chaos. "This is Dr. Zara Voss," she began, her words somehow cutting through the communication static. "You're fighting over me, dying for me, killing for me. But none of you have asked what I actually want." Firing stopped. Across space, dozens of alien civilizations found themselves listening to a young human xenobiologist who had accidentally become the most important figure in the galaxy and never asked to be anyone's chosen one. Zara continued, feeling the supportive harmonics of the Tesseract younglings, strengthening her voice. "I just fed some hungry children because it was the right thing to do. But through my connection with the Tesseract, I've learned something that every species in this engagement needs to understand." She paused, drawing strength from the crystalline. "Beings whose trust had started everything. We're all connected. Every action affects every other being in ways we can't imagine. The Dominion's expansion displaces populations that become refugees. The Void Seeker's conquest destroys civilizations that could have contributed to galactic knowledge. The isolation policies that species like the Tesseract have maintained prevent the sharing of wisdom that could benefit everyone." Through the viewports, she could see ships holding position, waiting for her next words. "The Tesseract chose me not because I'm special, but because I demonstrated something they'd almost given up hope of finding in other species. The ability to put compassion ahead of personal gain. But that capacity exists in every civilization. In every individual, it just needs to be awakened and nurtured." Dominion Commander Threx's gravelly voice cut through the communications channel. Pretty words. "Human, but the galaxy operates on strength, not sentiment." "Does it?" Zara challenged. "Commander, your own expansion has created the refugee crises that destabilize the regions you're trying to control. Your strength is undermining itself."
Oh.
She took a deep breath, feeling the weight of civilizations. Hanging on her next words, "I'll accept the role you've all assigned me, but not the way you think. I won't be anyone's exclusive prophet or captured asset. Instead, I propose something unprecedented. A cooperative council where every species can learn what the Tesseract have taught me about interconnected thinking." The youngest Tesseract being touched her hand, sharing a wave of approval and hope. Through their bond, Tesseract Collective has agreed to share their consciousness-bridging technology. With any species willing to approach it with genuine openness to change, imagine diplomatic negotiations where participants can actually feel the impact of their decisions on others. Trade agreements where exploitation becomes literally impossible because you experience the suffering it causes. Military strategies that account for the well-being of all affected populations because you're connected to them. A long silence filled the communication channels, as representatives from multiple civilizations processed the implications of what she was proposing. Speaker Nixori's harmonic voice carried across the fleets. "The gentle hand speaks wisdom. The Tesseract Collective offers our consciousness-bridging capabilities to any who will join this experimental cooperative." Surprisingly, the first positive response came from the Harmonic Circle. "The Circle has long sought greater unity among species. We accept this proposal." One by one, other civilizations began responding, some with enthusiasm, others with cautious interest, a few with skeptical questions about practical implementation. Even Commander Threx grudgingly admitted that alternative approaches might merit evaluation. Knox's voice reached Zara privately through a secured channel. "Dr. Voss, you're proposing something that's never been attempted in galactic history. The logistics alone will be figured out by species working together instead of against each other." She interrupted. "General, I can feel what the Tesseract younglings feel: absolute certainty that cooperation creates better outcomes than competition. Maybe it's time to test that theory on a galactic scale." As the various fleets began establishing communication protocols for this unprecedented cooperative experiment, Zara found herself surrounded by the 7 crystalline beings who had started it all. Their harmonics had shifted to frequencies that her enhanced understanding interpreted as pride mixed with hope. "Thank you," she whispered to them, "for seeing something in me that I didn't know was there." The smallest youngling projected a response directly into her consciousness. "Not seeing. Gentle hand. Awakening." Through the station's viewports, Zara watched as former enemies began coordinating positions for the first Interspecies Council. Meeting in galactic history, her simple act of kindness toward abandoned children had grown into something she could never have imagined. A potential transformation of how civilizations related to each other across the stars. Whether it would succeed remained to be seen. But for the first time in centuries, the galaxy had hoped that cooperation might be possible. And at the center of it all, a young xenobiologist who had learned that sometimes the most profound changes begin with the smallest acts of compassion.